Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to sportsbookreview.com. We are live. I was letting Donnie know we are live. He was waiting for his screen. I am Kyle Proviance, and I'm going to hand it over to our wonderful host, Donnie Seymour here. But we are live, and we're really excited about week 4. Donnie, how's your day going, man?
It was going even better. Like, I'm just taking a look at the still shots. Usually I get a little heads up here when the screen flips over that we're live on screen, but I just see somebody enjoying like a nice little cigarette off screen. And I'm saying like, hey, maybe we'll get the show started soon and say we're live. And there goes Kyle. And here we are right here. Week 4 NFL action. I'm excited for it, even though I'm technically, Kyle, late for it here on the actual queue. But never the same. We got an hour to break down each and every game on the card. We'll bring in Kelsey Kramer a little bit later in the show. Go over some pick 6 action. But we do the Tuesday show, Kyle, right? Set the table. Looks good. Now we flip it over to Thursday. It's time to get down to business.
It is, and I'll tell you what, we thought last week was tough, and it ended up going great, but this is a tough week, and there's been some interesting line movements and a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we know the Pittsburgh-Tennessee game's been rescheduled, but it's not that bad. I don't think it's time to freak out. They're going to remake the game week 7, it looks like. We'll keep an eye on the Minnesota situation, but I'm excited for week 4. Obviously, tonight's a bit, there's a lot to be asked for here in terms of great games, but hey, football is football, and we all know once we had sports taken away from us, right, I'm going to watch any football game they throw in front of me, so I'm excited.
No, I'm excited too. And it's football, so you can break it all down. We'll get to that Thursday game in just a few moments here. 69,800 people have hit that subscribe button already. If you take a look, if you're watching on YouTube right now, if it says subscribed in gray, congratulations, you did your job. But if it's a red button there, erase that red button by pushing it. Turn your notification bell on. Every time Kyle and I go live, go to talk some NFL action right here at sportsbookreview.com. You'll get that notification delivered. Thanks for checking in. Jay Peach is in here. Scott, Tall, Sharper Focus, Al, Snow Bunny, Melissa Glenn, and yes, there is baseball going on right now, and yes, I am very angry at the White Sox third base coach if you follow me here on Twitter, but we are not talking baseball. We are going full steam ahead for NFL football, and it starts tonight here. Got a game on the card. Usually I like to say, oh, man, good game on the card, right? Try to hype it up a little bit, but we have a game on the card tonight that's between the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. If we take a look across the sides, about a 50-50 ticket split here. Pinnacle Offshore opens up around 2.5 as a favorite for the Denver Broncos, but we have a quarterback change in here. Now Brett Rippon's going to get the start, and we're actually seeing -1s across the board here, Kyle, for the New York Jets. And I got to say, I think that's the right call here. I think I agree with that line movement over to the New York Jets. And you say, oh, my God, how can you pick a side? We are picking a side, and we're going to explain it here in just a few moments. But just looking at the line itself, over-under now opens up at 40, now sitting at 41. I fully agree here with the Jets move here. I think they should be favored.
Yeah, I'm on board with the Jets right now, and I can't believe I'm saying that, to be completely honest. I liked Denver earlier in the day when I thought maybe Phillip Lindsay would play and they would just run the ball down the Jets' throat because they struggle so bad against the run. But now it's looking like he's not going to play. Jamison Crowder's going to try to gut it out and actually like the matchup in the slot for them. And you just got to look at the quarterbacks. Sam Darnold, no, he has not been a world beater, but he's certainly the more talented guy. You have a guy in Brett Ripien, he threw 8 passes, and then his last pass, of course, or second to last pass was an interception, to end that final drive where they were trying to do something there. So Sam Darnold's got the advantage here. The Jets seem to have some of the advantage now with Crowder back. It could be ugly, but right now I'm leaning the Jets. And when you're looking at a game like this, -1, -1.5, you may as well just take the money line and get the added juice if you can. I have to double check that, but this is one of those things. I think the Jets at home, again, we talked about Thursday night football on the road. You're going to take a quarterback who's never made a start? No, give me the Jets.
Even when you take a look at, if you're going man for man on this team, like there's not a lot of exciting parts for the Jets that you can get after. Now, maybe if Adam Gase loses, he loses his job after the game is over Friday or Saturday, that might be coming into play. But when you're looking down, the injury situation is getting worse each and every. It seems like this is for every NFL team, but more specifically now for the actual Denver Broncos, because you're losing some guys up front. You got some guys in the back end banged up. You also have a quarterback that's not really fluid in moving. Hey, Donnie, he looked really good coming in playing last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who wouldn't look good when it's an 18-point lead and you're coming in just to dump it over the middle? I mean, hey, you know who looked good in that spot there last week, Kyle? Drew Brees would look great in that spot. Down 18, dinking and dunking over the middle, picking up yards. But he was 8 for 9 in that game. Kyle could have went 8 for 9 in that game, in an NFL game, if you just let him dump it off over the middle. But looking at this game overall, we don't want to spend too much time with it. We'll circle back at the end of the show. But if we have to make a play on this game, I am a big proponent of taking the home team on Thursday night. Do I think the Jets are a better football team? Not necessarily. But if we're going to line up quarterback after quarterback, I'm going to go Sam Darnold in this game. And we're going to see if Adam Gase shows something here on offense and can try to actually move the football up and down the field. The over-under in this game, I think it's hilarious. It's going up to 41. I hear, it's a sloppy game. They're going to have turnovers. And I don't believe in that. If you've watched both of these teams operate on offense through the first 3 weeks, you're going to tell me that each one of these teams has the ability to get into the 20s? I don't think it's the case, Kyle. I just don't.
No, I like the under quite a bit. This feels like a 20-10 game, and shout out to Abel in the chat. I like the under. Yep. I like the under 20 in the first half as well. I think that's the right call, and you're getting a plus number on that on a couple of books, if I'm looking correctly. I've been a little under the weather, so my eyes aren't working great. I'm seeing a plus
41's across the board. 40.5 is probably the lowest you can get at this point. So.
Yeah, and I'll just take the under on both of those. That's the way I'm going to go, and just root for this game to be as bad as I think it's going to be. Sometimes I like to I enjoy watching train wrecks sometime, and maybe tonight that's what I'm going to do.
I think you are going to get a train wreck, but it is football, as you like to say, right? But I got to tell you, just because it's football doesn't mean it's watchable. But I have an idea. I'll probably be watching this and yelling at the TV screen, even if I have a bet or no bet. But if I'm going to say the New York Jets are going to win this football game, I'm certainly going to tune in and watch that as well. Let's move on to Sunday's NFL action. Pretty good slate here. A lot of high lines, and I like to call this week 4 coming into it overcorrection weekend, because it doesn't seem like you're getting a bargain here, Kyle, on the favorites. It doesn't seem like you're getting a bargain here if you're an over hunter, like typically I am with team totals and game totals over. When we take a look at this game right now, 251, 252, a lot of moving parts here. And what I mean by that is the Chicago Bears losing Tariq Cohen, but Nick Foles now adding some stability to that offense. Came in the game last week through 3 touchdown passes, even had 2 touchdown passes called back, and that wasn't even for a full game. He came in, around 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and was able to move that football team up and down the field. He always should have been the starter in Chicago. It was amazing that Adam Gase went with Mitchell Trubisky, but they had to. The GM is up there going, you're going to start Mitchell Trubisky, or else I'm going to look really bad for trading up and drafting him where I did, when it was a complete and utter mistake when so many better quarterbacks were on the board. But getting back to this game overall, I agree with the favorite side. It looks like it's moving a little bit here, because Pinnacle Wall Short now showing a -2.5 at plus 100 when it was pretty much 2.5 all week long. If that line continues to drop, I like it even more. Look, the Chicago Bears are a much better football team with Nick Foles. I get that. Yeah. And if you're looking at, some people still can't get that, taste out of their mouth, Kyle, from week 1 when you went onto the road and lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You didn't give up that many yards on defense, and the defense has been stellar over the first couple weeks of the season. I think the Bears will be able to move the football, so that 43 is going to be in play, because I do think also from the opposite side, Frank Wright's going to have a pretty good offensive game plan that will be installed. I think those Indianapolis Colts are coming into their own. No reason to believe me that they can't go into Chicago in an empty stadium and come out here with a 3-point victory. I like the Colts in this game. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I like the Colts too. I'm a little concerned about this possibility of rain. I'm not big on Phillip Rivers in weather type games. That's just not his. He's got that funky throwing motion. He's not great at protecting the football. So you worry about some turnovers there on the road with the weather. So right now, I guess I like that Colts defense. Someone said that Colts defense is trash. It's the #1 ranked defense in the NFL
it's
right
great.
now. Let's just get that straight.
You
could, if the #1 defense in the league is trash, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the defenses are. This is a tough game for me right now. If that line continues to move and we start to get to like 3.5, I'm going to lean the Chicago side. But right now that it's under 3, I do think the Colts have more talent. I like Jonathan Taylor a lot on the ground. I like that defense. And even though I do think that Nick Foles is better than Mitch Trubisky, I've never been a big Nick Foles believer. I know he had that one great year with the Rams where he threw like 2 interceptions. And, of course, that historic Super Bowl run for your Eagles against the Patriots. But right now, I'm leaning the Colts. If it gets over 3, 3.5, 4, somewhere in that range, I'm going to lean Chicago at home.
Yeah, taking a look too. Phillip Rivers completing almost 80% of his passes already on the season. It's amazing. And yes, also talking about, in an offensive league that we see a lot of points being scored. When you take a look at that defense, actually for the Colts, 240 yards against the Jaguars, which is nothing. 175 yards against Minnesota when you saw them explode against the Titans, and 260 yards against the Jets. So they've really been locking it down. If you're an NFL defense giving up under 300 yards a game, you're setting your offense in some pretty good spots. And even if it is a little bit of, let's just say, some weather conditions coming in, which offensive line do you want to lean on in this game? The Indianapolis Colts offensive line, or you want to lean on that Chicago Bears offensive line? It should be a pretty good one here, but I'm going to trust. I think the head coaching advantage is a market advantage here for the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to trade it through. Phillip Rivers doesn't have to do too much in this game, but I do like the fact that Nick Foles is starting. I got to say, it's one of those things where you say, last week I had a team total over at Chicago. Love the fact that Trubisky got knocked out of the game. But then you look at this week, it's like, boy, it would be really nice if Trubisky got like, hey, we're not going to give up on this guy yet, because then it would be a runaway for me for the Indianapolis Colts. But it's a nice game to look at in Chicago. Yeah. And that over-under, the reason, again, you brought up a good point, 43 and a half. If there are some weather conditions and the rain comes in, that's going to put a little bit of a damper on that game as well. So good game to start off. Let's keep it moving throughout the list. 253, 254, the New Orleans Saints with some big injury news coming down the line today with Lattimore tweaking a hamstring. And again, if you see like the thoughts of, I want to hear Lattimore talk, because he's going to say, this is cramped up on me a little bit. Athletes at skilled positions have no idea what hamstring injuries are unless they've been plagued for their entire career. Once you see a hamstring injury during the week, that is a major difficulty trying to get ready to play for Sunday, because the player's going to say, hey, I went through walkthroughs, I went through run-throughs, I'm fine. But once he gets into Sunday action and Kenny Golladay is running a 9 route against him and he can't open it up, that is a major disadvantage, and that's going to come into play. I already like in this game between the New Orleans Saints and the Detroit Lions, everybody's on New Orleans. Hey, Detroit stinks. I thought they had a nice bounce back effort last week. Almost 8 out of 10 tickets here coming in on New Orleans. The line opens up at 3.5, does move in the right direction, 4s and 4.5 across the board. I don't believe in the New Orleans Saints. I just don't. They lost to the Raiders, who they're an okay football team. I get it. You come home last week, you take it on the chin. The score looks a little bit better in both of those games, because if it wasn't for Drew Brees saying, let me dink and dunk and pad my stats when the game is out of reach in the fourth quarter, they were both blowout victories. So if you're going to now tell me I'm going to go on the road with Mr. Dink and Dunk as my quarterback, I trust Matthew Stafford. And exactly the same scenario, Kyle. If you're in the fourth quarter and it's a one-score game, Matthew Stafford has the ability to go down that field. And also, if Lattimore is out, that is a monster injury situation to watch here.
Sure, and you make a great point about Marshawn Lattimore. He's a huge part of that defense. And when he's not playing well, that defense is not very good elsewhere. It's Marshawn Lattimore shutting down that side of the field is really important to that team, and not in the same scope, but sort of like Deion Sanders did years ago. You could roll the rest of your defense to the other side of the field. Then you talk about Jared Cook is not practicing this weekend. He's looking very iffy to play. We don't know if Michael Thomas will play or if he'll be 100%. I know they're optimistic that he could be there, but are they going to risk it? And then another factor is Drew Brees is just not the same player on the road as he is at home. So if you're not liking what he looks like at home this year, I know there's no fans. We saw what he did in Oakland. It was atrocious. And in Vegas. I'm going to do that a couple times this year. But, Vegas, not a very good football team. Sorry, Abel. I know that you love your Raiders, but they're just not. And they look bad against the Raiders. I like the points. I like the home underdog here, especially I'm looking at some 4.5s. And if this money keeps coming in on New Orleans, we could see this even jump to 5, maybe 5.5. So I like the home underdog. Give me the Lions right now.
Yeah, coming in the season, I had a little bit higher hopes, but you would have thought Drew Brees' arm would at least hold up through the first part of the season. There's already seeing a big difference, and I even sent out tweets early in the week. It would be really nice right now, and I know they're not going to do it. They have a lot of money invested in Drew Brees, but there's a reason in the offseason why they were looking for alternative options to Drew Brees coming back and really went after Tom Brady. That arm is shrinking, and that's a detriment. When you take Michael Thomas out of that offense, who it doesn't matter if there's 3 guys defending him, he's going to be wide open. Right. Yeah, he's going to come back, a few weeks early from a high ankle sprain. We'll see how and again, you're talking about a game that's going to be in a dome, so it is on turf. That's going to be a strain on that ankle. I'm just not a believer in the Saints. Can the Saints win the game? Sure, they can win the game. But Saints as a road favorite right now with how poorly they're playing, I'm not going to buy into the Saints yet, and I'm certainly not going to do it in this game. +4, +4.5 looks pretty good to me in that game. There should be points in the game because, again, if Detroit's up at the end of the game by 10 points, Drew Brees 1,000% will dink and dunk his way down the field to make sure you get that over there. So that's just the way it's going to be. But it's an interesting game to watch. We'll see how it pans out. 54, you're not getting a bargain on that. So we'll see how the rest of the week it really plays out. Arizona and Carolina. Kyler Murray obviously coming back, wants a bounce-back effort when he did take the loss. Didn't play all that well, but still a dynamic player last week versus the Detroit Lions. They're going to take on Teddy Bridgewater with a nice win on the road against a rookie quarterback. Got to give him something. Matt Rule with his first NFL win, but still 7 out of every 10 tickets here coming in on the road team Arizona. The line opens up at 4, drops to 3 at some places, and the over-under at 51s across the board. You see DeAndre Hopkins banged up, misses practice 2 days in a row with an ankle injury. That's something to be wary of. Buda Baker, obviously, with the thumb injury, one of the better safeties in the league. That's something to keep an eye on. But just Matt Rule, I like the effort that this team is giving. Even though you have some injuries, I think Nuke Hopkins is going to give it a go. I'm actually leaning towards the over 51 in this game. I think that will be achievable here. Side-wise, I still think Arizona is a better overall football team, but going on the road makes it a little bit more difficult. If that line drops any more, maybe 2.5, I might be interested, but I'm sitting on that over a little bit better. I think both of these teams will be able to get after each other.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's my favorite total on the slate, that 51. You talked about the injuries to Buda Baker. Arizona's down to 1 safety. They went and signed TJ Ward, who hasn't played in 2 years, just to give him some depth. From the reports that I read, they're going to take their rookie linebacker, Isaiah Simmons, and play him at safety. So now you have a Carolina team without Christian McCaffrey, although Mike Davis seems to be filling in quite admirably. They're going to be throwing the football, both these teams. Neither team's going to have a very dominant defense. I like the total in this game. I like the over 51. I would get in on that now. Now, I guess that might get driven down if Hopkins gets ruled out. Then you have some concerns because he doesn't have his main weapon, and you hope that Christian Kirk will be healthy so we could at least have Christian Kirk there. Larry Fitz didn't practice, but it was just for personal reasons and rest, not for an actual injury. So that's important to note. But I like the over in this game. I'm leaning Arizona. I think they bounced back this week. That loss last week was kind of fluky. 3 interceptions, made some bad decisions, but they were still able to move the football. I like Kenyon Drake quite a bit in this game. Carolina struggles against the run. I think Kenyon Drake could be a nice piece, especially if Hopkins misses. So I like the over, and I like the Cards right now.
Yeah, and that's the way I'm leaning here. I am leaning that way. I do like the way the Carolina Panthers play, but I just think that pedigree overall is I think Arizona will be able to move the football pretty much at will if they're healthy on offense. But we'll see as it goes later in the week. And I say later in the week, it's already Thursday. But if we get a Friday practice and that usually tilts towards you playing on Sunday, maybe just some extra added, like saying, you know what, you don't have to practice, man. If the ankle's banged up a little bit, stay out. The Julio Jones effect. I'm not going to practice all week. See you on Sunday. I'll be ready to go. I doubt he misses this football game because of an ankle injury. Doesn't seem to be a huge one because it really wasn't reported on Sunday, but more of a weekly thing. So I don't think it's a high ankle sprain, anything to be really worried about. 257, 258, some bottom feeders in the NFL. Cincinnati just staying bad. And, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who shocked everybody with a victory over the opening day over the Indianapolis Colts. But now they match up in this game. 6 out of every 10 tickets are coming in on Jacksonville. And I agree. I'll 100% agree because we're sitting in the same type of slot where I look at rookie quarterbacks. And it's the same thing that we used last week, or at least I used, with the Chargers. A rookie quarterback getting points somewhat can be desirable, and you can find a way to try to work that in. A rookie quarterback laying a number, I want no piece of it here. Jacksonville with a little bit extra of a break here coming into this game. We'll see if DJ Chark plays because if he does, that offense should be able to move. Cincinnati, to me, Kyle, is the worst defense in the NFL overall. They gave up 23 points to Carson Wentz and Greg Ward last week. So I think, obviously, the Jacksonville offense, to me, is much, much better than what you're going to actually get from what the Eagles were last week. Over-under is 44.5. It's up to 49. There's a reason for it. Both of these defenses really aren't very good, but a rookie laying points, I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree there. Now, I'm afraid of Joe Burrow because he's cost me 2 losses this year by backdoor covering and tying and throwing late touchdowns, and they're going to let him do what he wants to do. Yeah. And Cincinnati does have playmakers. Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. They're not devoid of weapons, and we saw that Jacksonville defense looked absolutely lost against Miami at home on Thursday Night Football. So I'm nervous about this game. Like me personally, I'll have absolutely none of my money. If I could have gotten that 44.5 that I opened up or whatever, I would have been all over that. Now it's at 49, a little bit nervous, but I think you have 2 offenses who are going to throw the ball a lot. You're going to see a lot of clock stoppages in this game. I'll take the points right now because I think the teams are pretty equal, and Minshew Mania, I'm going to ride that train all year. So even though it makes me nervous, I'm going to pick the Jags at +3, and I hope that it feels like that's going to start shortening up, right? Because so much of the money's coming in on Jacksonville. So I guess right now you might want to get in on that now before it gets into a pick'em sort of situation. But I still like Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. It's just, I don't think Cincinnati's offense is bad, and I think Joe Burrow has been just fine for the situation he walked into. But yeah, I got to take Jacksonville, and it looks like DJ Chark will be back as well. Test looked good on Monday. He's still questionable, but limited participant. That's a big part of their offense, that downfield threat that DJ Chark provides. So I'm leaning Jacksonville right now. Yeah,
I'll be shocked if it gets to that 2.5 range, because then obviously somebody might take a look more at Cincinnati. But it's just one of those old factors. You don't win money on rookies in the NFL. You just don't, and especially when they're favored, because they're expected to win. And we're not talking about back in the day, Big Ben 2004, where he takes over for the Steelers, and they're completely built, dominant at wide receiver, dominant run game, dominant defense, and he just has to manage the game. Cincinnati's a horrendous football team. So when you have no defense, you got to go toe-to-toe with other teams. I'm not laying the points on a rookie quarterback. We'll see what happens in that game. 259, 260. Good one here. Cleveland and Dallas. You saw opening day, same old Cleveland Browns. They come back with 2 decent victories. Not over great football teams, but at least getting into the win column, sitting at 2-1. You take a look at the Dallas Cowboys again, sitting at 1-2, and you can argue on an onside kick that if it was just defended, the Dallas Cowboys are 0-3 heading into this football game. The one thing we know about the Dallas Cowboys, the offense is awesome. It was number 1 for me in the NFL, 1 and 1A, if you're taking a look at what the end of the year standings are, like a Baltimore Ravens. I know the Chiefs had a good year, but Dallas every single week seemed like they were putting up 28+ points and nobody could stop them. It looks almost identical this year. 3-wheel motion at wide receiver, tremendous. You still, you're down a tight end, but you still have some decent looks with Schultz at tight end, a dominant run game, and absolutely nothing on defense. So if you're a team total over guy and you look at the Dallas Cowboys, it's the perfect storm. They always have to continue to score. Now they're going to go up against the Cleveland Browns, who again are 2-1. And I just don't need Baker Mayfield to Baker Mayfield himself out of this game. I know there's some injury information with Kareem Hunt battling a groin leg injury, but you're still going to have Nick Chubb in this game against not much of a resistance from the Dallas Cowboys. But you're not getting any bargains, as I said. When you look at this game, you say, okay, 49, 50, maybe 51. This game's sitting at 56. Everything has to go right in this game for you to cash that ticket over. But when I look at this early on, it's simple for me, Kyle. Each one of these defenses, and this is granted that Denzel Ward's going to play this weekend, I trust the Cleveland Browns defense getting a stop way more than I do the Dallas Cowboys. So if I think it might be a one-possession game, even though I like the Dallas Cowboys last week in a one-possession game that they didn't cover, probably should have, I like the same thing here with the Cleveland Browns. I'll take the 5 points that's now showing up at Chris. Give me that way. I think it comes down to the end, and I'm not so sure Dallas's defense can hold up here.
Yeah, you're right. That 4.5 and the 5, it's like, damn, it's right there. I'm going to lean Dallas. It's a must-win at home, and for some reason, they seem to get these sorts of things. They seem to get lucky. The Kareem Hunt thing actually matters to me quite a bit because I do think it slows down the Cleveland offense in terms of they're going to, when Nick Chubb's in the game, they're running the football. He's not a great receiver out of the backfield. They bring Kareem Hunt in. They can do all sorts of these little screens. They can do all this stuff. Now, the Dallas secondary, absolutely atrocious. We talked about Jordan Lewis last week, and he was going to get torched by Tyler Lockett, and that's exactly what happened because he is horrible in the slot. That entire secondary is bad. But then can Baker Mayfield actually take advantage of it? And he really hasn't shown the propensity to do that yet. I know they beat Washington last week. Washington has a better secondary than Dallas does, which is crazy to say. But that 56, I'm happy to take the under on that 56, as a matter of fact. I just think that's way too high. I can see Cleveland slowing the pace down here, and I could see Dallas running the football a little bit more as well. I like Dallas 4.5, 5. I'm nervous about it. Again, my personal money won't be on it, but if I'm leaning one way, I'll take the better quarterback and the better offense at home with the road team having a big injury to Kareem Hunt, which I do think is significant. So I'll lean the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't feel great about it, I should say.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence didn't practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He's banged up with that knee injury. He's fighting. Also, Tyron Smith actually got a limited effort in today, but he's also going to be questionable with the neck injury. And La'el Collins, your right tackle, he's been bothering a hip injury that he even said, hey, if we're not doing that well this year and we're out of the playoffs, I probably would just shut it down and get surgery. So that's telling on saying, like, hey, I'm hanging on by a thread here, but if we have a chance to win the NFC East, which everybody sucks in the NFC East but the Dallas Cowboys offense, that's where you're going to be playing into that one. So I'll lean on the points in this game. May change to see how things go, but if Tyron Smith's not going to play in this game, La'el Collins is banged up, and I'm going to get a plus injury report on Denzel Ward and also on Kareem Hunt, may be able to sway me even more. But I like the points here early in the week. But again, should it go over the total? Probably, but we are not getting any breaks here as over bettors. It's when you see those team totals in baseball now show up in the playoffs, 2.5, 3.5, you lick your chops because usually 4.5s and 5s during the regular season. It's going the opposite way right now. So we'll see how that plays out for the rest of the week. Minnesota, hard-fought loss last week going up against Tennessee. Now they're going to go on the road and play Houston. Over-under in this one opens up at 54.5, does dip a little bit to 53.5, but Houston is now a favorite since opening up at 4.5. Mostly 4s across the board, but some books still showing 4.5s. You want to believe that Minnesota got off the schneid last week with their offense, said, hey, we could take a deep breath. We can actually move the football. And I think they will be able to do that against Houston. The only problem here is Kirk Cousins as your quarterback is going to keep it up for a second week. Is Deshaun Watson going to get extra time knowing and taking a look at that Minnesota defense, which is not what we've seen over the past couple of years? I still don't want to lay my money on Houston and a 4.5. As hard as it is to take Minnesota here, I see this again as a one-possession game, and I'll lean on Minnesota with a heavy dose of Dalvin Cook. Do I love it? Not necessarily, but when I take a look at the game, it's more of I don't know what Houston's going to bring to the table because, again, the same point brings up. They played three really, really good football teams early. Now you're going to get a not-so-good football team, specifically on defense, and see how that plays into it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on the opposite side. I like Houston, but I don't feel great about it. No, this is one game that I would be careful on. I wouldn't bet on this game until Saturday, to be completely honest, and that's just because we want to make sure there's no positive tests for Minnesota. Because if one or two players test positive in the next day or two, and we're still kind of in that 3 to 5 day range from the game. They were the team that played the Titans. Then they will postpone this game. We've seen how it's going to be, right? It wasn't a ton of players. It was 5 players for the Titans, and they postponed that game. So it's something to keep an eye. If I'm going to bet this game, I'm doing it on Saturday. I like Houston. Minnesota just reopened their facilities today. That's all encouraging. I really like that. I'm totally on board with that. I think you bring up a great point. Houston, this might be a nice breather for Houston. It's like, my goodness, we had to play the Chiefs. Then we had to play the Steelers defense and the Baltimore defense. Now we get the Minnesota defense who can't defend anybody. Cameron Dantzler and Holton Hill are just terrible in that secondary. And you see Xavier Rhodes playing lights out, by the way, for the Colts over there. So it's interesting to watch. I like Houston at home. I just think they've been able to prepare all week. They haven't had all this distraction. Minnesota's probably every 20 minutes right now being tested. I have no idea how that actually works, but it is something to keep an eye on because you don't want it to be a part of one of these awesome parlays and then it gets pulled and you have to decide, do I want my money back or do I want to wait for another game? So I would make sure on this game that it's going to be played. If it's going to be played, I like Houston. And I like the over, by the way, too. I think both defenses are terrible.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you saw a decent effort at Houston, at least in the first half last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you're right. You're going to be at home. Fans are allowed to be in the stadium. And I don't want to say referendum time on Bill O'Brien because when we all looked at the schedule, we knew coming into the season, like, man, they got a tough slate to start. Yeah. So it's not like by any surprise they're 0-3, really. And they still have a tough stretch going through because we figured Minnesota would still be a much better football team than what they're actually showing now. Let's keep going. 263, 264. Seattle. Let Russ cook. Doesn't matter what their defense does. Doesn't matter what the injury situation is on the defense. Just put it in Russell Wilson's hands. He makes everybody better. The emerging star, DK Metcalf at wide receiver. Tyler Lockett's open every single play. And if Russell Wilson can buy the extra second and a half, which he does so many times, Kyle, it's amazing to watch. He's so good at his craft. But having said that, they're really going to get tested this weekend. And you say, well, Donnie, what do you mean they're going to get tested by the Miami Dolphins? When you're looking at injury reports and what they have, The Wednesday practice report, which I don't have it yet for Thursday, was one of the largest ones I've ever seen in the NFL. Yeah. Maybe you get this like week 16, we're just trying to work guys in and give guys breaks. There's so many people on that injury report at key positions, specifically linebacker, secondary, offensive line. It's across the board. But when you look at this, it's almost like the only thing that matters is if you get DK Metcalf on the field, Tyler Lockett, along with a healthy Russell Wilson, it almost doesn't matter who else is out there. They could play with a bargain-based defense because Russ always answers the bell. Now they go down to South Florida, the heat and humidity. You would think Ryan Fitzpatrick would be able to counter in this type of an environment. Do I think Miami can win? No, I don't, but we're not picking that way. They're getting 6.5 points across the board, and I got to tell you, I look at this game, I think the Dolphins are going to be right in this one because you can't just go game by game and lose key contributors on your defense. Miami's going to be ready to play in this one. I would be really surprised if this doesn't come down to like the last drive of the game, and so many times we talk about it, a one-possession game. I think Fitz is going to give them fits in this game. I'll take the 6.5 here on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a great point. The injury report doesn't even fit on one full screen. You have to scroll down just to see the whole practice report, and the biggest one of them all, well, there's two. I mean, you really do. It's crazy.
Yes.
I'm trying to go through just so I could look at the camera and talk about it. But Jamal Adams, it doesn't look like he's going to play. He was very sore after practice. It's a groin injury. Why would you risk him against the Miami on the road in a game where there's some rain possibility as well? Now, it's Thursday, and I'm not a meteorologist for, by any stretch of the imagination, but we saw it even last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago. It always rains down there. It could be warm and raining.
Yep.
Losing Jamal Adams is huge, and that secondary has already been so far through the first 3 weeks of the season. Them and the Dallas Cowboys have been the two worst secondaries in the entire league, even worse than Minnesota, which is like, wow, how is that possible? Now, one thing that I did think was encouraging when you look at the injury report, it's on the other side. Devontae Parker not listed on the injury report. So maybe this extra time playing on Thursday Night Football has gotten him more healthy. I think Seattle wins, absolutely, but we talk about this all the time. It's always a close game with Russell Wilson. Yeah. It always comes down to one drive. So right now, as I'm looking at these 7s and 6.5s, I mean, we had 7.5s on Tuesday, which made me feel a little bit better. But I still think Miami covers. I think you're looking at one of these unless it's just a massive downpour in the game. Chris Carson might miss this game as well, so they might be down to Carlos Hyde and Travis Homer. This could be one of them 27-24 games that Russell Wilson squeaks out on the road on the last drive. I think Miami covers. I'm going to take Miami plus 6.5, plus 7 at home.
All right, we got 3 games coming up right in a row here that we have our primetime games we want to spend maybe an extra minute or two on, so we'll speed through these ones. The Chargers heading on the road. Rookie quarterback Justin Herbert comes down to earth a little bit last week. Now we take a look at going up against Tampa Bay, who's going to be without Godwin in this game, banged up in some areas, but it doesn't seem to slow down. They handled their business going out to Denver last week, put it in cruise control in the second half. They opened up as a 7-point favorite, still sticking as a 7-point favorite across the board, but an over-under dropping here from 45 to 43.5, and I do agree with that because the explosiveness of Tampa Bay, I love it when they're all healthy. Still have Scotty Miller banged up a little bit, I believe, with a hip injury, but Godwin's not going to be able to go in this game. Still have Mike Evans, yes, a good group of tight ends, but this is one of those games where I look at as a head coach and say, a rookie is coming on the road. Let's play our game out here. Let's not force anything and say, you know what? I don't think Justin Herbert can throw for 330 yards and 3 scores and beat us here on the road. So let's get after that running game with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones II, and see where it leads us here. So I actually like the under in this football game, but I do think that 7 points is right on the mark. 6.5 might lean towards Tampa Bay, or even if we're looking here, I'll take Tampa Bay and that Tom Brady-led offense in the first half to be up 4+ points in that first half and carry it on to the second half. Just the same sort thing applies to me, Kyle. If you're going to cover the 7, you better be up probably 7 at the half in order to do that. That's the way I'm looking in this game. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I actually think the Chargers have a great chance at covering. Leonard Fournette is not practicing either, so he has a chance at missing this football game, and it's just Ronald Jones. Scotty Miller is also banged up. If you look 2 weeks back, that Chargers defense, now they're going to be without Chris Harris Jr. this week, so you drop in Desmond King into the slot. Very, very good and competent slot corner, by the way. I just don't know. Are we going to say that the Tampa Bay offense is more explosive than the Kansas City offense? I don't think so. Of course, it's a rookie quarterback. I actually think the Chargers cover when it's 7.5, 7. If it got to 6, 6.5, I think you're right about right. Like it feels like a touchdown win for Tampa Bay at home, but right now I'll take the Chargers plus 7.5 on Pinnacle, plus 7 on other sites.
269, 270, not a lot of reason to spend a lot of time on this game. Baltimore,
No.
you know they're hurt after Monday Night Football. You know they're going to lick their wounds. You know they're going to circle the wagons, and they are getting the ultimate prize at the end of the week. An offense that can't move the football and a team that you can basically, outside of like your front four, which is getting banged up here by the day for the Washington Redskins, we'll even see if, all-world rookie Chase Young even plays in this game. They should be able to do whatever they want against Washington, but it's not so much about scoring points for that for that Baltimore offense. It's about what Washington can counter with. What's a max for them? 14 points, maybe 17. I see the 13s opening up. Now we're seeing 13.5s, even 14s with some light juice out here. Baltimore rolls in this game. Keep it quick.
Yeah, Baltimore rolls in this game. I don't normally like touching double-digit spreads. I might look for some props or something in this, but like if you're desperate to bet the game, just take Baltimore and hope that they don't pull their starters in the fourth quarter. Baltimore is going to stomp them this week.
Yeah, even with their starters pulled, like you saw it last year, beating the Steelers with your backups, they don't care. They have 19. Yeah. So who's really their backup anyway at running back, and does it really matter at wide receiver? They should be back and be able to bounce back. Lamar Jackson should have a big game in this one, at least for a first half where they need it. 271, 272. The Giants on the road, the horrendous football Giants in the NFC least that we're going over. I would venture to say thank God Dallas is in that division for offense, because the Eagles are horrendous on offense and injured. The New York Giants, which we're going to talk about, horrendous on offense and injured. And Washington is just played horrendous on offense and not even injured. So looking at this game here, it's another high line. Opened up at 12, goes to 13. Even if you're saying I think the Giants might be able to bounce back in this effort, they were so bad against the San Francisco team that's down so many players, and now you're going to go on the road and tell me that Joe Judge is making them do push-ups this week and taking them through Marines drills, and they're probably going inside pipes and coming out the other end and having team chants and how we're going to get back into it. I don't see it adding up. Do I want to lay 13? I don't, but there's no way I'm taking the Giants after what I see week to week with their offense. It is horrendous, Kyle.
Awful. Both games. Washington, great point too. Terry McLaurin's going to be out. It looks like you're taking the Rams. If you're gonna bet these games, and I usually stay away from them unless it's college football when I see these double-digit spreads, or I have to at least like something about the other team. There's nothing that I like about the New York Giants. Absolutely nothing. They are atrocious. And now you're traveling to the West Coast after getting stomped at home by the practice squad of the 49ers. So if you're desperate to bet this game, you're taking the Rams. It's not out of the question for them to win by 2 touchdowns. And it's not like the Giants are these backdoor cover monsters where they're so explosive. They're going to get things done. So it's the Rams all day long.
All right, let's get to some of these games, our highlighted games, as we like to say. 273, 274, New England coming to town to play Kansas City. And if you're looking to back the road team, it really doesn't matter who the road team is. You got to try to get out of your head it's Patrick Mahomes on offense, and it doesn't matter who's on defense for the other team or what the spread is. They have a chance to be in connection with that spread and at least cover. You're seeing some interesting movement here because it opens up at 7. Now one of the sharper books, Chris Offshore here at SBRodds.com, showing 6.5. But still, most of the majority of the lines are at 7. Over-under opened up at 54, 52.5 at some outlets, 53 at most books, so coming down. One would think if you're going to be able to give Kansas City a run for their money, it would be Bill Belichick to try to slow down that offense. But I got to tell you, the only way that New England wins this game, and I feel bad because we talk about what you see out of the Monday night game. If the Baltimore Ravens here, Kyle, couldn't impose their will on Kansas City's defense, the offense is really set up and similar in New England to what Baltimore likes to do. Run some read option, run Cam Newton. Cam Newton's not the best highly accurate quarterback, the same way you would take a look at Lamar Jackson. So the blueprint is out there where if you thought last week the Baltimore Ravens, which I did, would give Kansas City problems, how is New England going to give Kansas City problems on offense in this one?
They're just not. And even if they do, it's not going to matter because we've actually seen that New England defense, which was really, really good last year, especially in that secondary. Yep. They've been fairly vulnerable this year. It hasn't been this dominant shutdown type secondary that you're seeing. Now you're getting Kansas City at home and you're seeing some 6.5s out there and 7s. I got to lean the Kansas City Chiefs because when you look at that New England offense, who would you say is more explosive? Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton. I think that's pretty easy. There are different types. When you look at the receiving core, I know Edelman and N'Keal Harry can be nice, but you got Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews and that plethora of running backs, I just don't see how New England can keep up in this game, especially on the road. I do like that they're getting James White. James White will be there. But I just don't see it out of Cam Newton. I like Kansas City by winning this game more than a touchdown at home, and I'm interested to see that. Most of the money right now, 55% of the bets coming in on New England. That's crazy to me. I'll take the Chiefs.
You're expecting, I guess you're expecting, the Wizard of all, the Wizard of Oz, basically, and Bill Belichick to come up with a grand scheme. But the only way I see a pathway to victory is what the Baltimore Ravens should have been able to do is run the football. Cam Newton's not going to be able to engage in a shootout in this game and come away with a victory against Patrick Mahomes. So that's the only reason why I do lean on the under in this one. But then again, you're talking about an under with the Kansas City Chiefs. It just doesn't jive with each other. At 53, I lean under in this one. But also, until I see that blueprint coming out, I thought I was going to see it Monday night, and I didn't. I'm going to lean all the way here with Kansas City in this game. Let's keep going. Good game out here, and what I think should be a decent scoring game. Buffalo and Las Vegas. That's the Bills and the Raiders. Josh Allen, I don't know what happened in the offseason. Maybe it was just getting Stephon Diggs. Maybe it was just growing up in the NFL now. This team can really move the football. We talked about the Buffalo Bills over the past couple years. Over-unders 35.5, 36.5. Because why? Josh Allen's going to run the ball 11 times. They're going to try to pick up a few big plays, but they're going to play really good defense. Now it looks like they're the greatest show on turf on offense and giving up chunk yards on defense, which is astounding. So if we look at this game coming in overall, 6 out of every 10 bets here coming in on the Buffalo Bills. The line opens up as a road favorite -3. Now you're seeing across the board at SBRodds.com here, -3s, -120s, -3s, -115s, and you see an over-under that jumps from 45.5 into that 52.5 range. The Las Vegas Raiders are going to have to open up that offense to keep up, but I'm not willing. I saw last week a blowout in process, and all of a sudden you saw the Rams come all the way back in that game, only for the Bills to steal it on a really questionable pass interference. Yeah. But I think the Bills are a pedigree team. I don't want to go up against them this week, but I do think that if you're John Gruden, you're not going to be stingy on offense this week. You really have to open it up. We'll see if we get Henry Ruggs back, but I think there's going to be points in this game. I would lean here on Thursday at over the 52.5.
I love the Buffalo Bills, and I'm a big Josh Allen believer. That's why he's my fantasy football quarterback on both teams. I love his rushing upside. I love his competitiveness. Now, they do have a tendency to blow leads. We saw that in the playoffs last year against Houston, one of the weirdest fourth quarters you'll probably ever see from a professional quarterback. Yep. But let's think of it this way. Buffalo and the Rams certainly came back, but Buffalo was still the better team throughout that game, and they found a way to win. You're right, it was definitely a questionable call, but you're going to get those sorts of things. Would the Vegas Raiders ever be 13-point favorites over the New York Giants? I don't think so. I think you'd probably see that line more at 6.5 or 7 for the Raiders at home. I think Buffalo is such a better team. I know they're traveling to the West Coast. I cannot find myself picking Vegas in this game. The only way is going to be Josh Jacobs is going to have to run for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they're just going to have to light them up on the ground because that secondary for Buffalo, that passing game for the Rams is really, really good. We got 3 good wide receivers. We got a good receiving running back. We have a great play caller in Sean McVay. And I don't think Gruden's a bad play caller, but Derek Carr and Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards, Darren Waller aren't going to get it done against one of the top 4 or 5 defenses in the league. I like Buffalo a lot. I'm nervous about the total because I do think Vegas will try to run the football a little bit when they realize they can't throw on this defense. But I like Buffalo in this game, so I'm staying away from the points, but I like Buffalo to cover the spread on the road.
Monday night, or Tuesday, I was going to say Sunday Night Football. If the schedule makers came out, looked like we were going to get a really good one between the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. But now, obviously, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. 7 out of every 10 tickets coming in on San Francisco, and there's no argument from me whatsoever. The Philadelphia Eagles, as it started in the offseason with Brandon Brooks not even working out, basically tearing his Achilles, and has gone all the way up to last week. We're now at a practice report came out today. The only wide receiver healthy on the 53-man roster was Greg Ward. Everybody else sat out of practice because they were injured. So now if you flip that over going to Sunday Night Football and you say, well, Deshaun Jackson might be there on one leg. He'll probably run one route and sit the rest of the football game out. So if we are going to be left with a Philadelphia Eagles team that couldn't beat one of the worst rosters in the NFL last week in the Cincinnati Bengals, you saw on the road against a similar type team between the Giants and the Eagles, San Francisco put away the New York Giants and even embarrassed them in the second half, where I don't know if they even got more than 3 first downs in a blowout game for the Giants. So now you put the Eagles on the road with a nice pass-catching tight end in Zach Ertz and just about nothing else. Are you going to lean on Miles Sanders and a beat-up offensive line and Carson Wentz, who's seeing ghosts right now because he has no weapons to throw to whatsoever? I don't think that's the case here. And I'm seeing the Sixers obviously missed out on that. It's 7s across the board. The one thing I don't understand is why the over-under is going up from 43 to 46. Yeah, George Kittle's coming back. We'll see how effective he is. But if Jordan Reed's not going to be in this football game, still they're banged up at wide receiver and running back. I don't see where the points come from the Eagles here. You saw last week where the Giants couldn't do anything against that banged up San Francisco 49ers defense. I don't see the Eagles doing much here in this game. 6 may have been a buying point for me. 7's still hard to get over because it has to be a win by double digits. But I would be more than shocked if the Philadelphia Eagles won this football game. So if I think coming in that the Eagles are going to struggle, I'm going to look for San Francisco to be up a touchdown at the half in this game. That's the way I lean here, Kyle.
Yeah, I think the number's too big, to be completely honest. And I know the 49ers are getting healthy. Deebo Samuel has returned to practice. And, listen, this is Donnie's favorite team versus my favorite team. So he's trying to trap me into jinxing my team because he knows my jinx powers. We've done this many a times, and I'm sure when Kelsey comes on, she knows my jinx powers too, because every damn pick I give her, poor girl gets wrong because it's my fault, So I even did this to Donnie last weekend, but I think the 49ers win this game. I just don't feel good about that 7 number. I think you have a desperate Philadelphia team. I do know Deebo Samuel's going to possibly be back. They're going to watch him in practice throughout the week and see if he's ready. He has returned. He's just been on IR. George Kittle should be back. Don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's going to play. I'm not sure how much you lose there with Nick Mullins, and it's basically just a handsome factor. Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously way more handsome than Nick Mullins, but Nick Mullins is a very competent quarterback. I just worry when you have a team like Philly who's looked so bad and they're taking so much heat. I think it takes some of the pressure off of them to get out of Philly, get on the road, get away from all the pressure. You get to a team like San Francisco who's beat up by injuries and won 2 impressive games on the road with their practice squad team. I think the 49ers win, but I think the +7 is a little too much for me. I think the Eagles cover. Niners win by 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, I can see your point on the Eagles getting away, but there's no fans in the stands at home where they're even booing them or giving them a hard time. So they're going to go on the road. And again, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, who couldn't beat, to me, the worst roster in the NFL, which is the Cincinnati Bengals, now you're going to go on the road and play my favorite play caller in the entire NFL, Kyle Shanahan, with an extra weapon in George Kittle if he's healthy. I just don't see the Philadelphia Eagles holding up in this environment. And then if you take a long-term look here at the Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco, Pittsburgh off a bye now with that COVID game, and then you flip it over to the following week. Yeah, you get an easy game against the Baltimore Ravens. So it doesn't set up well for the Eagles, and it starts this week. Maybe it's time to look ahead and completely retool, because if you're injured and getting more injured, that's not a good recipe, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. Let's take a look at this Monday Night Football game here. 279, 280, Atlanta and Green Bay. You want to talk over-unders, you got one here. At least it's dropping a little bit. Hallelujah. Opened up at 58, was 58 for most of the week. Now I'm seeing 56.5, some 57s out here. We'll see if Julio Jones gets back onto the field, but I don't see a lot of defense being played in this game. No. 7 is a steep number against an Atlanta football team that we do know can move it just about against anybody. If you're looking for Green Bay, they're going to have to win this game by double digits. Can they do it? Absolutely. But you saw last week, up double digits, dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk when it doesn't matter. Atlanta should be able to do that with the best of them. I'm actually going to lean on taking the points here. I'll wait on it since it's Monday. Maybe you can get a 7.5, and I feel more comfortable with the Atlanta Falcons here.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 7.5 on Bovada, and that's where I'm at. This feels like a game where you live bet, right? You wait for the Falcons to maybe jump out to a lead and the number changes and go, okay, well, they can't hold on to a lead. They're going to lose the lead. And then you just take that extra value because Aaron Rodgers is going to throw it up and down the field. And let's make no mistake about it. That Green Bay defense is not any good either. They're 20-something against the pass. Russell Gage left that game with a concussion last week. did practice on a limited basis today. Julio Jones practiced on a limited basis today. So as Atlanta's offense gets healthier, I think Green Bay wins, no doubt about it. It's not going to shock me at all. But Atlanta's one of them backdoor cover teams, and they're going to keep throwing and keep trying to score. I like that the total's going down. I'll probably, I mean, we'll be on the show for 3.5 hours on Monday, so we'll see what it looks like then. But I'll probably be on the over because these are two bad defenses and two great quarterbacks and two very, very good offenses. Green Bay should get Devontae Adams back this week. So I like the over right now, even though that's a high number. And I think Atlanta can cover. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they can cover that 7.5.
Look at all the boys out here in the chat box and girls. 260 people watching live. We do thank you. 69,800 people have hit that subscribe button right here on sportsbookreview.com. We really do appreciate it. It's NFL season. We're having fun. Even though it's not a great NFL game tonight, we'll just look ahead to next Thursday night. You get Tampa Bay and Chicago. So a much better effort here than what we anticipate from the Jets and Denver Broncos. But as we always say, just because the game is bad, the money still counts the same on a victory. Right. So good luck on wherever you're betting there. Now it is time for the Pick Six, which I didn't do very well last week, but we have our weekly guest on here, the latest hit in the sportsbookreview.com family. Kelsey Kramer joins us live to review some Pick Six picks, where she's going this weekend. Will it be good? Will it be bad? Will it be against my Eagles? Will it be against her Falcons? We are due to find out. Kelsey, welcome back in on a Thursday here, talking some football. Me and Kyle.
Guys, I missed you. It's been forever.
I know. Well, you haven't missed me that much because I told you to pick the wrong pick on Sunday and Monday. So I'm just like, I'm on the SH list. You know, I'm out on the side there. But we're glad to have you back and glad the move went safe. We're glad to see you.
Yeah, I won't drive again for a while that far. But Kyle, I'm still waiting on my Venmo, so I'll give you that after the show.
Yeah, give it a Venmo. Okay, look, Kyle's a bookie, so he's probably just giving you the wrong information to bet up against. But that's what we do. That's the team effort here that we have, whether it's winning money or losing money. We're going to do it as a team in that aspect. But we have some good Pick Six games to go over here as I'm trying to get through my notes and actually find where the Pick Six is. While Skype is giving me a little bit of issues right now. So let's just start with game one, Kelsey. Where are we going in your Pick Six contest here?
We're starting off tonight with the Denver Broncos at the Jets. I'm taking the Jets on this one. Adam Gase needs this win to keep his seat. And let's go back to 2018 when the Jets absolutely torched the Broncos. I'm not going to look for that big of a point spread tonight, but definitely put my money on the Jets.
Look, I can't argue. The Thursday night home team, I'm always a big fan of. You got a kid that hasn't had much NFL experience in ripping coming on the road here. Adam Gase, it's time to put up or shut up in this one. And we even have a person in the chat box saying, Kelsey, I want to take you to Olive Garden. Look, it's all classic. It's all love in the chat box here. What a great date to go on right there. You know?
I love Olive Garden, chicken parm.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
There you go.
Should I just say I disagree so that way you're not taking my pick because I like the Jets as well? I don't want to be blamed for this one. You know what I mean? Too much pressure. So I'm gonna. No, I like the Jets. I think it's the right call.
Yeah, Fireman Ed won't even be in attendance there for the Jets, so we'll see if they get up to Schneid. Look, it's a cheap number, so you're basically we don't need them to cover. We don't need them. Oh man, that late field goal really hurt me. They just have to win this football game. And as we're speaking here, Kyle, also the line goes up to 42, so we're looking for an offensive explosion here all of a sudden in this game, Kyle. Yeah,
we're taking that under. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I'm jinxing it now too. So later, we'll delete the tapes, but over 42. That's just way too high for this game. I would have taken the under 40.5. So 42 seems way too high.
By the way, Kelsey, you're talking about Arizona, right? So, I mean, we're going to include Arizona. I don't know if this is a bias that we're talking about here, but I think you're going to be going on this Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers game. What type of train are we going to take across the country for this one here?
Cards. I'm on the Cards bandwagon, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I've been in the Carolinas long enough to know that, not to bet on them. So Cardinals are the better team. The Panthers defense won't be able to stop Hopkins, even though they looked a little better last week. And Kyler Murray had a bad day, but I had a bad day yesterday. I hit a wall. So it happened.
What?
Did you have a helmet on? I mean, what are we talking about?
Yeah, did you have a helmet?
We're going off the rails on that. What's that?
Oh, boy.
No.
Oh, boy. Well, that happens when you move to a new state, and people can be a little crazy in Arizona, by the way. I've driven around Arizona. I've played some golf in Scottsdale.
Hey, I'm sitting on a box and it just fell through.
That's perfect.
There you go. Look, that's what we do here live. Look, this is not edited out TV right here, people. We're not sitting behind green screen, so this happens live. We have producers that can talk behind the scenes. We do it all right here at Sportsbook, right? Yeah.
That's right. And you should check out Crazy Amy B's Bakery, right? The girl from Hell's Kitchen Nightmares or whatever, and see how crazy she really is. I heard her and her husband throw people out, so I'm curious to know if you can check it out live. Crazy Amy B's Bakery, Amy B's something or other. But I like the Arizona pick right now. But I like the over more in that game, but I like the Arizona pick.
I can see it though. I mean, Murray's a very good quarterback, but we'll see what you get up from that Matt Rule type offense here, and we'll see what comes across because we're sitting at 50. This is one of the lines that hasn't moved all that much. It opens up at 51, sits 51 across the board. It's just a matter of DeAndre Hopkins comes in healthy. That offense should be able to move the football against that Carolina defense. So I do agree with that. Now, look, so I know we had one of these picks. Now the good part about this, ready? Because when you're looking for a pick-six pick, the goal is to not lose the game. So if one of those picks is between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, we got that half one already, don't we?
Yeah. I'm taking the Steelers.
I would take the Steelers as well, but that game has been postponed, I believe, till week 7 or week 8 due to COVID. So when I saw that up on the list, I'm like, this is fantastic. Like, even if you put that in, like, dude,
can't lose.
I was unbeaten. You could be 5-0-1 and be like, hey, the only game I pushed, I had a really good shot at winning that one was with the Pittsburgh Steelers right here, but that game is moved off of it. So we'll keep on moving it down the list. Now, one game that me and Kyle went over and we do agree upon, because the chat box will let us know here that we're haters of the Raiders. I guess we are. So if we take a look at this game, the Bills are heading west out to play the Raiders. What are we looking at in this game here, Kelsey?
The Bills. The Raiders are coming off of an awful loss and looking for that silver lining, but that's always tough to find after a game like that. The Raiders won't be able to keep up with Stephon Diggs. Neither will they with Josh Allen or Devin Singletary. So I'm taking the Bills in this one. They're looking hot.
No, I think the Bills are good in this football game because I don't think they're going to be able to be stopped by the Raiders. Maybe regression out of Josh Allen at quarterback, Kyle, is the only thing I'm thinking that could really hold them back. But at the end of the game, I just like the way the Bills are flowing on offense, man.
Football team. How dare you jinx my fantasy football team? He knows he's my guy. He knows that. He's just trying to hurt me.
Any
he's
regression?
Trying to hurt me. No regression. I just don't see how the Vegas Raiders can move the ball in that defense. It's going to take a whole bunch of Josh Jacobs, and that defense isn't good enough to stop Josh Allen. I love the Buffalo Bills. I don't like to give the pre-early bankers now, but when you get to Sunday morning, don't be shocked when you hear me say the Buffalo Bills -3.5, -3-point favorites on the road are one of my bankers.
I can't disagree at this point. I'm looking for points in this one over, 49.5 to 52 points. I think they'll move it on offense. And it's just a matter of John Gruden can be really creative to try to, as we say, like to offset some of those things that they like to do. We'll keep moving down the list. One of the games of the week, you should say 273, 274, 425 Eastern time. 6 out of every 10 tickets here coming in on Kansas City. So if we're looking at this game, Kelsey, we loved what we saw. I mean, I didn't love what I saw on Monday night out of Kansas City because I lost with the Baltimore Ravens. But now coming back, Cam Newton on the road, Bill Belichick, is that enough to slow down the Kansas City Chiefs? Or is it like, hey, Mahomes, what are you going to do about it?
You referred to Bill Belichick as the Wizard of Oz. I think Andy Reid's the Wizard of Oz. So
not to us in Philly, he's not. Go ahead.
Definitely with Mahomes on this one. He proved to us who the best quarterback in the league was on Monday night, and the best team in general. They have all the weapons, both defense and offense.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about Kansas City, Kyle. Like when you look at Kansas City, it's like, you still have to cap based on the numbers you have. And New England's a really good football team, and they're getting 7. It's like, hey, man, if Bill Belichick comes up with one of those schemes, because the defensive secondary is still very good for New England. So theoretically, they should be able to at least slow them down. But the offense is the concern to me and what Kansas City brings to the table. Like I said before, if Baltimore just couldn't manhandle this defense like they should have, I don't know how Cam Newton's going to do it.
It's not going to happen. And they're less explosive than Baltimore. And that New England defense has not been the same this year. Like normally you would look at New England and it wouldn't matter where they're at. And you say, oh, +6.5, +7, that's easy money. But now plus minus 6.5 for Kansas City. They're going to win this game by more than a touchdown because you just simply can't keep up with the pace of that offense. And I don't care who your defensive coordinator is. They just don't have the talent to stop the scheming, the talent of Kansas City at home coming. I like Kansas City by more than a touchdown. I think this is an easy one.
By the way, I love the memes that were coming out where you saw Patrick Mahomes and his fiance were having the baby, so they changed the baby, ultrasound photo to have Lamar Jackson as a picture on that. So, I mean, Twitter is always undefeated in most stuff, but it is kind of correct. You see the Baltimore Ravens just punk everybody just about in the NFL, but somehow not able to get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Monday Night Football, 279, 280, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, if we know anything about Kelsey, we know this is going to be an auto bet on the Atlanta squad here getting 7. Am I correct on this?
Absolutely not. I'm wearing a cheese head, whatever it's called.
Wow.
See, I mean, we got something in common. Me and Kelsey got something in common this week. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles getting a touchdown, and she hates her Atlanta Falcons getting a touchdown. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The pack is 100% back, and Devontae Adams is out of practice today. Julio Jones is back for the Falcons. We're not sure if he'll actually play, but I don't think that's going to change it that much. The pack is obviously the better team here, and I think they can cover that spread of 7.
Now, how are we doing so far over on the year? Because I was tooting my own horn after the first 2 weeks and took a back stumble last week, partly because my Philadelphia Eagles -4, and also Kyle's Skype message congratulating me basically on my cover with the Cowboys last week, which didn't go my direction. So I'm hoping for a jinx Skype from him this week. How are we looking so far through the first 3 weeks of our Pick Six? Are we 500? Are we below 500? Do we need to get that mojo going to get this above 500? What are we looking at here, Kelsey?
We need to get that mojo going. I hope this is the week to take out the Pittsburgh game. I did my picks really early on Monday night, so I had Pitt still in there. I'm going to fill that spot with the Giants game. That's the easy money, easy win there. I don't know about that point spread yet, so that'll be a game day determination.
Kyle, what are you doing out here in the Pick Six, by the way? I mean, you're very quiet over here.
I've actually enjoyed. I'm sitting at 10-7-1. I had a 3-3 week last week, a couple backdoor covers, and lost that half point by the missed extra point on Monday Night Football. But 10-7-1. Doing well. Ooh. Our biggest fan out here, Jimmy Stain, says Kyle is the most handsome guy I've ever watched on YouTube.
Yes,
Thank you very, very much for that. And a lot of people would disagree with you, but hey, anytime you say something nice like that to me on the chat, you're going to get a shout out from me. But no, 10-7-1. I've had some bad luck against Joe Burrow and betting on your Eagles twice. But for the most part, so far, so good. In the top, 15, 20% or so. So I'm feeling good about things.
By the way, also with the move, Kelsey, some people in the chat box saying, what happened to your Peloton bike in the background? I mean, inquiring minds want to know. So
that's hilarious. That was actually my sister's. I don't really work out anymore. So that didn't come with me.
Yeah, that's like us all. Like I get out of college and it's like, what am I working out for anyway? I'm just, I'm just going to be hovering around here and doing a few things here. And I mean, look at Kyle. I mean, the guy works out every day over there. Looks terrible.
Obviously, clearly.
I need that plan.
It's the cigarette hand on Monday nights that I work out, right? Just like in the drinking hand.
Shots too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Keep it I always keep it classy.
That is right. We always keep it classy right here at Sportsbook Review. How quickly, I always like to say, the hour goes by. Like we can literally spend like 2 hours going over these games, but we always have that, get in, get out, cover all the games, which we did today. Had a nice little Pick Six section here with Kelsey. But looking overall at the games, Tuesday we set it up. Thursday we sort of sharpened the pencil, as we like to say, but we still have a huge Sunday show, 12 p.m., which has gotten great feedback here. A lot of people watched that Monday Night Football party that we had. We're going to have another one this weekend again on Monday Night Football between Atlanta and Green Bay. You never know the guests who will be on. Maybe some people on this show will appear on Monday Night Football as well. Had a great time last weekend with Chris and Gary coming on, also Junior Brown at the half. Kyle comes on with me and Flash, and we have a great time. So always open-ended here on some of these invitations that we will give out. But we want to thank you guys for spending your Thursdays with us, coming in, talking a little bit of football, and getting you ready for the weekend. As we said, big show on Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at sportsbookreview.com. 69,800 people have subscribed to the channels. A lively chat box today. We really thank you for doing that. I'm Donnie Seymour. She's Kelsey Kramer. He's Kyle Proviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and this was your NFL show for Thursday. Good luck, guys.